Hello, everybody. I want to welcome everyone to the first Para-Roundtable. David and I will be discussing a different topic weekly for the next several weeks. David Pickerel is here right above me today. He's the CEO of Para and a good friend. David, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me here.
Well, thanks for having me here.
Yeah.
uh, Today's discussion will be revolving around driver safety. It's something that all of us need to take more seriously. Even those of us that recognize it, try and do it, we always need to be reminded and do a better job. I want to introduce my panel real quick. I'll start on the top. We have Holly Camp, who is a fellow YouTuber and does these delivery platforms and works gig work. Hi, Holly.
Hello.
On the far other side, we have Roy will be Roy on his channel YouTube, and Roy and I have talked safety many times, and we see eye to eye on pretty much all of it. So we might even be over the top. I don't know.
Yep.
How are you,
Howdy,
Roy?
howdy.
And then to this side of me, I have Ron Walter. Ron is Entree Courier. He has been on my podcast several times. I've been on his a couple of times. Ron has a great website, entrecourier.com. You guys check it out. Lots of good articles that he writes, and they're all on the gig economy, and they all are very relative to everything we do. They're not just on the gig economy. He writes some really good stuff. So, Ron, welcome.
Thanks.
And to the other side of me, I have Joe, and Joe is in Detroit, and he is Let's Play DoorDash. And I'm sure that as of recently, especially, a lot of you have probably seen Joe here and there. So, Joe, welcome as well.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, you guys, David and I were talking about, how do we at least kick this off? Like, what is, because once we get the flow, it'll be there. So I came up with, I want to list off some things. So one thing for sure is driver safety hits many different aspects of gig workers' day-to-day lives. So I'm just going to name off like 10 things. And then I'm going to go around, see if the panel has anything to add to it. And we're going to try and hit on these as much as we can. Here they are in order. Number one, and then this isn't in order of importance. This is just in order of how they came to me. So nothing's in any specific order. But 1, dash cam. 2, 100% focus while working. And by that, I mean, you are ready to take a driver's test right then and there. Like you're not drifting. Nothing's going on. Knowing when you need a break and taking it. This is something that not nearly anybody enough does. In fact, everybody pushes their limits way too far. The gig companies do not care about you, me, the drivers. We know this. So obviously, because even I remember in the day when I used to say it sucks when they cut you off after 10 or 12 hours driving rideshare. But sadly, now that I look back on that, that was actually pretty sad. It actually should cut you off every 8 hours and make you take a break or something like that, because you're not good at 11 hours.
Right.
So knowing your market inside and out, and I mean inside and out, before you're doing like night stuff or things where the city, I have a take where here in Denver, it's a great city, day, night, whatever. But when it turns night, it's a different city. And you need to know night very well as you know the streets and your market in the daylight. You need to know it as a different entity in the night. When in doubt, cancel. If you're doing delivery and leaving your car running while you're running deliveries up to the door. Remember, guys, that crime is not even close to just rideshare drivers anymore. This is hitting delivery drivers as much lately as rideshare drivers, and a lot of stolen cars and a lot of in doubt moments. Multi-apping and how it relates to being safe. Drivers carrying mace, taser, and weapons, and how we all feel about that. Even though it goes against the TOS, it is your car. And the last thing that kind of ties into that, understanding you are your business and responsible for every decision you make. So don't let these apps say this is who you're picking up and think there is no way out of this. I have to pick that person up. That's what I'm doing. There's always a way out. If you don't feel safe, cancel. It's your job. It's your car. If they're going to puke and you let them in, that's on you. But I would like to ask, first of all, anybody, you have anything to add that I might have missed there? Yeah.
I would say something that needs your emotional state of mind needs to be looked at as well.
You mean overall or like?
Yeah, overall, your state of mind. You're having a fight with your girlfriend that morning. You're going out. You're going to be in an emotional. Driving takes 100% of your focus, and you shouldn't be worrying about, oh, I was fighting with my boyfriend, or I got this really important thing I got to do later. You got to have your mind 100% on what you're doing at the time. And if you're emotionally unstable at the time, that could lead, in my opinion, to arguments with customers, which puts you in harm's way because you might get an aggressive passenger at that point. Yeah, so your emotional state is very important when you're driving behind the wheel of a car. You know,
and that's not just for gig work. That's for every driver.
That's for every driver.
You guys just.
Yeah,
but I feel it's more important with the gig work because you're dealing with people, you're dealing with other people. If I'm on the road by myself and I'm angry, that's between me and everybody else. But when you got a customer in the back of your car, you can't have that same mentality. Or you're dealing with customers bringing them their food, you can't have that same mentality at that point.
Well, again, and that's part of the I think part of the problem is that's been part of the issue is that's people need to understand, again, even if you in every way feel like you're not treated this way, you are your business. So would you if you weren't being fed these drivers and you had your own clients, would you be working in that state? And that's where I would think, no, you wouldn't. You'd get somebody else to help you work out. You'd have a day off. So, again, I think it comes back to understanding your own business. But is there anything else that I missed?
I think a simple one is just, make sure you're wearing your safety equipment, seatbelts, things like that. Be aware of your surrounding. Put yourself in the best situation to keep yourself safe.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, are your doors locked? I mean, Joe, you live in Detroit. I'm from Michigan. Your doors better be locked.
Yeah, well, I mean, where I live, they're open 90%.
I know where you live. I'm just kind of. I know
where
that Joe doesn't live in the part of Detroit that he and I are both referring to. And yes, we are that in sync because I said Jobby Nooner to him the other day, and he knew exactly what I was talking about.
100%, buddy.
And that's a Michigan thing. But Ron, Holly, did I forget anything? David, did I forget anything else?
One thing that I don't know whether or not this fits into one of those topics or if it's something that we talk about, whether what those topics fit into this, but kind of that question about what do you do as far as people thinking that you're carrying cash? That type of thing. And especially with Uber and DoorDash now having cash on delivery type of thing. And that was the biggest safety issue back when I drove a taxi way back in the day, before they were even doing remote credit card transactions. That's dating myself, I know.
Just out of curiosity though, how much do any of us carry cash? Like if I have $100 cash on in my at my house, I'm not going to. I only take a 20 out with me when I drive.
Sure, that's about all I take.
It's like it's almost like I hate to say it, but I'm prepared to be robbed.
Yeah, I remember when I drove a cab, I used to carry around a little pop can that you could kind of twist off, and that's what I kept my cash in, or something like that.
Oh, okay.
It was a place to hide it. And it's not so much maybe the issue of carrying cash as it is people believing that you might have cash, and does that leave you open?
Right.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Then they get twice as mad when they get there and realize they wasted their bullets and you ain't got nothing to give them.
Well, isn't that when they take your car? I mean, there's a lot of stolen cars, you guys. There's a lot of abuse. I mean, I think a lot of people might get beaten down because they say, I don't have any money on me. And the guy's going, listen, I'll beat you if you don't give me the money. And they're like, dude, I don't have it. And they don't have any. And I think they take a beating maybe because the guy's so convinced, when really it's like, hey, man, live my life for a day. We don't get cash tips. We don't.
I'm out here doing this for a reason, bro.
Yeah. I mean,
Can I tell you?
But that also
Story.
boils down to the driver in some respects as well. Having good situational awareness, knowing when the high crime rate times of the day are. Do you want to take a cash delivery at midnight and you pull up to the house and it's all dark? That's driver situational awareness on stuff like that. So that a lot of that also will fall on the driver. Like, do you really want to take that risk? You know, and so it's a risk assessment issue at that point. I know it's a cash on delivery. This house doesn't look safe for me to go in. I'm not going to do it and drive away. But, you know, so a lot of that does fall on the driver as well is, you know, how bad do you need that $5? Do you need that $5 bad enough to walk up to a full dark house knowing it's cash in the middle of the night, strange neighborhood? That's really up to the driver to make those, like you said, knowing your business, knowing, you know, what you're willing to risk towards reward.
I'm
It depends on what neighborhood you're in.
I'm glad Roy just said that because I finally get to make David talk right now. Because look at him perk up, see? Because you just said that, and like everything we fight for at Para, full transparency, right? That's number one, right?
I miss being able to flag customers on Para.
Well,
that.
with full transparency, you would see where you're picking up, where you're dropping off, how much you're making. All of a sudden, you know, that's a risky neighborhood. I don't want to go in there. Whereas what Roy's talking about might lead you to believe, ooh, that could be in the risky neighborhood or it could be here. I don't know. And you might take it because you, like he said, you need the money. But if you saw where the final destination is, then you are making your own.
A more educated decision.
Well, not even educated. Like, are you willing to do that? That you should have that information. That's even a safety feature. You should have that information for safety reasons.
Yeah, I know. So the platforms had given like a political reason, which was like, hey, we can't tell people, otherwise certain areas won't get service. And I think that's just convenient, right? At the end of the day, it's pretty simple. Like, you should be able to make that decision, and you should know that, right? I don't think it's easy to just hide behind something like that.
Yeah, but they do, and you know, like, it's funny because they also get it wrong all the time. Like, well, you know, take this ride to Aurora. Okay, I might, but if I don't, it's not because parts of Aurora are sketchy, because there's parts of Denver all over that are sketchy. It's that I don't want to be in Aurora at that time and not be able to get a ride for an hour or two, or have to deadhead back. But yet there's probably somebody parked right next to me downtown Denver that might be looking to go home to Aurora. He's done for the night. Give him the ride.
Yep.
I mean, it's you know, that's why you need to show everything. It's actually, to me, it actually is a benefit. If you show the transparency, it's a benefit to them. I mean, because then, yeah, I don't want that ride at all. David, you and I talk about this all the time. There will never be a ride not taken. It's gonna get taken,
right?
So why not show it?
I'd like to see all the gig companies that are doing food delivery tell the customers that they cannot get delivery if their porch light's not on.
Well, what if they don't have one?
Well, who doesn't? Like, install one if you want your food. I don't know.
I'm no kidding. My house was built in the 70s. I don't have a porch light.
But surely
you
can get a sticky thing and stick it above your door. That's a motion thing. You can get one of the
well, I live across the street. Like, literally, my house is on a corner, and I live across the street from a high school for performing arts. So they have these lights all night that go on. So my house, it's lit. You can see it.
Or at least be able to identify the address of the house some way, something.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's dangerous even to walk up there in the dark, and say you're on the sidewalk and the concrete's uneven, you know, and you can trip because you can't see what you're doing and you're carrying bags.
Yeah. Yeah, and then that's on the homeowner. That's a whole nother.
Yeah, I mean, that could be a whole lawsuit for them. They need to have their lights on.
Right. And again, I cannot enforce enough. Don't forget, you guys, I mean, when you sign up for these apps, they do make it sound like in conjunction with your insurance, we have your back. But really, I've spoken to way more than people I ever would want to on this subject of where their back wasn't had at all by these companies or their insurance. Yeah, what's up, Roy?
But also, you got to remember, these are your businesses. You're using the app to run your own business. So we can't expect the app to be able to do everything for you, whether it's porch lights, whatever the case may be. You have personal equipment you can use. Flashlights, you have the ability to ask your customer to come out to the sidewalk to get their food because they're in a dark situation and for safety reasons for there. And it just takes easily being able to explain to the customer for your safety and mine can come out, your house is dark, and pick up your food. You know, that also, a lot of that falls on you because you're your own business owner. So we can't expect the apps just to jump through hoops because of, you know, everything every driver wants. Every driver can come up with 50 items they think they want. It would be impossible for these apps to implement everything everybody wants. So as your own business owner, you need to take responsibility, have the proper equipment in your car, have the, like you said, the proper mindset of where you're at and what you're doing. Knowing your market is the biggest thing. I can tell you in Las Vegas alone, I can tell you every neighborhood that's a bad area. I know not to go there. I know this because I've studied my markets. I live here, so I know. I watch the news every night. Which neighborhoods are being bad in the news? All that stuff's available to you. So as a business owner, you do have to take some responsibility. We can't expect the apps to do it all for you. Yeah, there are a few things that apps can improve. You know, there are a few things that apps can improve, in my opinion, by the way they market their apps, certain things they can implement in their apps. But at the end of the day, remember, we signed up for these terms and services. We still have to take responsibility for ourselves.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, yes, there are things that, yes, could be done. But the other thing is the numbers of customers and drivers have gotten so out of hand, like how many there are. And I think, David, you can attest to this, that it is pure algorithm now. There aren't even people caring about people at these companies anymore. Like, we used to say they don't care about the drivers, like, meaning I think it used to be more of a term like they literally want you to die, or maybe not, or like it was taken so weird. But now it's literally like they don't care about the drivers. True, they don't. They're not going out of their way to really try and make things better, but it's almost impossible at this point. Am I saying that right, David?
I don't think it's almost impossible, just so that they're looking at it like such a high aggregate level, right? So I think, you know, the people who are like quote unquote running a market are just looking at things like numbers on a spreadsheet, basically, right?
Right. That's what I mean. I mean, like there's just too many like, yeah, exactly. Each driver's just a number. They don't want to see in the news that somebody got hurt on their platform. Not only because of PR, but they probably, I would hope on a human level, they would care too, and they don't want to see that. But, you know, at the same time, they're not doing anything at this. It's so big that what could they do? I mean, like again, I go back to what the fight is. And for those of you that don't know, I'll put it up here. I think I typed it out I'll type a new one, but is to check out driverrights.org. And maybe we should take a quick, like, couple minutes to let you explain why driverrights.org happened, David, and why it moved from its original home at change.org, which you and I both kind of agree, like, anybody can go set up a change.org. You know, I don't want somebody to cross this street. Okay. Like, you can go do it for free and all this, but it got so big. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Because this is a big deal.
I'll just go very quickly, and then I'll tell you what my safety problem is. But I think I agree with what Roy was saying, right? So I think you are supposed to be, you know, your own independent contractor and, you know, in charge of your own business. I think that's what Driver Rights is pushing for, is the ability for you to get the information you need to run that business and to use the tools you want to run that business, essentially. So I think really what we believe is that if platforms are going to categorize you as an independent contractor, we should be able to maximize really what that means, right? So what that means is you should have the full pay information. You should be able to use the tools to auto-accept or decline or to drive safer. You should be able to just get that data feed. That is your data feed, right? I think one of the things is, like, as a restaurant, you can get your data feed from DoorDash, Uber Eats, etc., into one tablet, which you can use to run your business. Why, as a driver, can't you do that? And I think that's really what we're trying to push for, is to say, like, look, I need to be empowered to be able to run my own business well. And that's what we're trying to help push for at Driver Rights. So thank you.
And the way we want to run it.
Yeah, and the way you want to run it. Exactly.
And again, I really need to reinforce this, you guys. This is not This is not a strike against a platform like Instacart where a few hundred people don't sign on the app that day. This is not a union push. This isn't actually, this driver rights movement isn't even about increasing your pay. It is in a way, but it's not even about that. We understand that companies have to operate. It's just about transparency. Show everything that we need to see to take the job or not. So don't get fooled thinking, well, it's another, what is this, a strike or a, no, this is how many signatures now, by the way?
I need to check my change.org is over 55,000.
Right. 55,000 plus signatures on this. That you guys, for those of you that don't know, that's a big deal. That's people that took the time to go and sign up for this. And I know a lot of them were para users, but a lot of them aren't too. It's steamrolling. Yeah.
But when it comes to your safety as a business owner, your safety while you're working these apps, that's not really, transparency really isn't going to change that. You have to be the one that changes that. My situation with the apps is they micromanage too much. I shouldn't be told what I can or cannot keep in my car when it comes to my safety concerns. That's one thing I think that needs to change. There's too much micromanagement when it comes to these apps. Yeah, transparency is cool when it comes to what neighborhoods you're going in and so on and so forth. But when it comes to safety, in my opinion, with some minor adjustments to the app, falls more on the drivers themselves and knowing their environment and having their mindsets right. So even if you show them everything on the app as far as transparency goes, that still isn't guaranteeing your safety.
No, not at all.
But Roy,
that's
don't you think that some of that micromanaging stuff that they do is basically just to cover their butts when they, legally, and you can do what you want? I mean, it's not like
no, not in my opinion, because we all have state and local laws that dictate how we can protect ourselves when we're either out in public, just cruising around doing whatever, and when we have our jobs.
Right. I understand say that your local law says that, you have a concealed carry or whatever, but DoorDash says, hey, no, you can't take a gun in your car. And something happens and somebody goes to sue you. I think DoorDash says that just to kind of take themselves out of the situation. You know what I mean?
If they want to
kind of
take
falls on
themselves
you.
out of the situation, they need to hire employees. Honestly, if they're going to say that you are doing this as a business and not as an employee, they've got to give you that right to operate your business.
Right, I agree. And I'm not saying they're right. I'm just saying that that's what I think.
No, I understand that too.
Yes.
And it's the same thing with having like the extra apps helping you out. I mean, you're not going to tell a carpenter which hammer to use or which tools work best for the job. So why are they telling us as independent contractors, hey, you can't use the driver utility helper app or Para on there? It should be up to us if this is really our job. They're giving us a job to do. But if we're independent, we should be able to use whatever tools we have in our bag to get that job done efficiently.
Sure.
Yeah.
Back to the issue of weapons real quick, and we won't hit on it long. I mean, that is a really loaded question because I can tell you most of the rideshare drivers I know, and I'm keeping it easy here when I say mace, taser, and then I leave the last one as just weapons. That could be a knife or whatever else.
Machete.
But most drivers I know, easily more than half of the drivers I know carry one of those things.
I carry a firearm with me whenever
and every one of them breaks the TOS.
Yeah.
But again, it's my business and it's my life. So
because at the end of the day, we're talking safety here. We're talking your safety. I could care less how much I'm going to get paid for that ride if I'm about to die. So I'm going to take the measures not to die at that point. I could care less if I'm on Uber's platform at the end of the day. As long as I'm still alive, I can sign up for another platform. Uber's not going to pay for your funeral. So at that point, I don't care what Uber, Lyft, or DoorDash says at the end of the day. If I'm going to die, I'm going to make sure I don't die. That's my first concern, and that should be everybody's first concern. Not worrying about what the apps think. Don't care what the app thinks. You care about yourself. You're number one.
Close proximity, though, with your rider. Would you? I mean, if somebody is in your back seat and they try to do something, I mean, do you even have time to get to your weapon?
Well, but that's also
I got time. I do have, honestly, Holly, I do have time to take, first of all, if I'm on so I've explored this with Roy. I mean, actually, I know David was there. He's already laughing because we've explored the scenario of, okay, what if you're on the highway and somebody in the backseat puts a gun to your head?
Right.
Do you like, and I mean this like not what if, okay, now think about it. I mean, why aren't you thinking about that before you go out rideshare? Because you need to be prepared to do what you need to do. Like my answer isn't gonna, not everybody's gonna love it, but it is my answer. If I'm on the highway and somebody puts a gun to my head, I will take the car and I will gun it, and I will look for a police car or to run into, or a medium wall to run into at a high speed. I will take my chance that way, because no rideshare driver that has a gun put to his head, or at least not in my experience catching news, lives. You always die. So
we were in a car together, and Steve turns and looks to me. He goes, "You know what my plan is? If someone holds a gun to my head," he starts revving the car.
Well, because it is.
Well, everybody should think about it ahead of time.
Yeah.
You should have a plan. Absolutely.
And that's another thing. If you're going to carry a firearm, let's say like I do, for example, learn to use it. Learn the scenarios. Practice in your car. Also, once again, it goes back to situational awareness. If you're a single passenger, why are we letting single passengers sit directly behind us? That's a no-no. That's a rideshare 101 no-no. You don't ever let customers sit behind you. That's why you have passenger seats, and all that good stuff. So that's another thing. There are partitions you can get that keep them from getting directly behind you and stabbing you if you feel that you're in that kind of area. So once again, as a business owner, you have to take those steps yourself. That's not something that apps can do for us. If you got $600 to waste on whatever the case may be, then you got $600 to improve your business and put a partition in your back seat, so you don't get attacked by a knife or whatever the case may be. You have those abilities to do those things, and we can't keep looking at the apps to do that for us. We gotta, once again, safety is number one. It starts with us, not the apps.
Yeah, I would say that, the other thing, Holly, is I have bear mace too, and I am willing to. The way I have it is not the direction that you would pull it out and spray it. If you're hiking, right? I actually keep it in the holster backwards, meaning if I had to pull it, I'm going to pull it, I'm going to spray it. It's going to get me directly, not even close. It gets you even if you're near it, but it's going to get me directly, but it's going to get everybody in the car. I'm going to make sure everybody gets got. Because at least then I stand a chance. But yeah. You got to be ready. Like, do you have them? If you're going to do that, do you have mace? Is it in your glove compartment? Because that's not going to do you any good.
I'll never do rideshare to begin with. So
right. Well, okay, but let's take it to delivery. So what's your delivery safety plan? Like I know maybe you don't do this, but some people leave their cars running and take the fob with them.
I do.
Okay. So, or even if not, you're getting back in your car. You're getting back in a car and somebody comes up and put a gun to your head and said, get out of the car. Or, somebody's in the back seat. I don't know. I'm pointing it out because it's happening to delivery drivers as much as rideshare drivers do.
I only leave my car running if I can see my car from where I am. Like I'm going to walk up the driveway, but I can still see my car I don't ever leave where I can't see my vehicle. Granted, someone can still steal it, but.
And another thing, when it comes to food deliveries, you're walking up to a house at nighttime. I see this all the time in videos. You're staring at your phone. Why are we looking at our phone? Why are we not looking ahead? Why are we not looking to our right and our left where there could be issues? People are so involved in that phone that, first of all, your phone shouldn't even be in your hand. You got a bag. You can carry your phone in a bag in one time. If you feel that unsafe, you could have your mace in your other hand and have it ready to go just in case. While you're doing that, you don't need both hands to control a phone and a food bag at the same time.
I have a lanyard that goes around my neck that holds my phone, so I can just drop my phone at any time. It's not going to fall. It's on my neck. So you could do the same with mace too. Really, they have those.
Here's the bottom line too. To move on to the next subject is that there's a lot of things being said here that it should open your eyes. Don't let it scare you, but at the same time, just like when I used to work as a bartender, not every job is for everyone. So like when we're talking about this stuff, realize it happens. Now, what are the odds of it happening to you? I don't know. You'd have to run that statistic in your city. You'd have to see how many rideshare drivers or delivery people are there. How often do they get robbed? You'd have to figure that out. I don't know for your market. But just realize that just like working in a bar or even a Walmart or a school these days, anything can happen.
I managed a
so make sure you're in it.
loan.
Make sure you're comfortable in the role you take, I guess is what I'm saying.
I managed a title loan store back in my hometown of Illinois. And it was just me and another gal that were working in there. It was a very small store. And I saw a guy walking in one evening, and I knew the minute I saw him, I don't know how, but I saw him coming up the sidewalk, and I knew that it was going to be bad news. And so I got up because I knew I could handle it better than she could. And sure as anything, he pulled the gun and held it to me and asked for all the money and yelled at me about, where's your safe? Where's your safe? And we didn't have one. And I had to tell him that, and he didn't believe me at first. But, finally I got him out of there and we called the police. But so I have been in that situation where I've had a gun to my head. But it's no fun for sure.
It's definitely about keeping your cool and just remaining
and that's
calm.
why I took it instead of her. But
I mean, I don't want to put either of you guys on the spot, but Ron, Joe, do either of you keep mace, taser, anything on you?
I don't.
I keep mace like right on my
Or
center
if
console.
or
I
if you
go
don't,
like
are you against it? Would you be against a driver doing it?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
No, I'm not against it at all. I mean, I also got my hunting knife with me all the time, but that's just always in the car. I'm from Michigan.
Yeah.
Thing.
That's the thing.
I probably, and maybe I rely too much on this, I don't know. I'm probably fortunate that my size is deceptive.
Yeah.
That people aren't going to mess with me maybe as much as they might with other people. If they only knew, it'd be a different story. But the other thing is too that I do also, specifically drive during daylight, and I avoid. I've winter. It's a little harder to do, but now I'll go into the dinner area, lunch or dinner rush. But usually I'm not going to run much later than 8 or 9 o'clock on deliveries.
But what about when you were cab driving? That's
when I was driving a cab, there was one time I used to drive North Omaha. If you know Omaha, that's not the area that people would tell you to drive. But I never was really had a problem. I had one time I picked up a guy going to Lincoln, and right as we started out, he was like, "Don't look at me. Keep your eyes on the road." I thought, "Crap, I'm going to end up in a cornfield somewhere."
Right.
That's a long drive too to Lincoln.
I think what you were talking about, that was what was going through my mind. It's like if he tries anything, it's about what I'm doing as I'm gunning it. Because he's not going to try something that's 80 miles an hour. You hope anyway.
What up, Roy?
And if you're not comfortable keeping some kind of weapon in your car, you already have the biggest weapon there is. That's your brain. Yep. Use your brain.
Yep.
Like I said, once again, learn your areas. Just situational awareness alone could save you from getting that gun to your head or a knife to your back when you're walking up to somebody's house, whether it's a rideshare passenger. Just using your brain. That is the biggest weapon we have. And unfortunately, when we get these people get involved working these apps, they're more involved in making sure we hit the decline. That's why I love Gary's app, because he gives you that ability. You don't have to look at your phone. But so many of these drivers are always looking at that app so much, even when they're driving. That is, we see videos.
The multi-apping too.
Yeah,
that's what I was going to go. That's my biggest risk. I always say is because I'm testing things, I'm looking at the phone. That's my biggest fear. I'm like, I've never even come close to an incident, but I'm like, it's a matter of time if I keep doing this. I need to be better about it.
Yeah, right. And it's hard to speak safety to a lot of these guys because we got gig tubers on here nonstop making videos while they're driving. They're looking at their phone instead of what's in front of them. So the biggest weapon you have is to use your brain. And until you learn to use that and think of those minor, it might be minor. A lot of people don't think about, I got to look at my phone. It only takes that split second to hit somebody, a pedestrian or whatever the case be. And then it doesn't matter what app you're sitting in jail. You ain't using no apps at that point. So if you're not,
Uber pings when you're dropping off, when they're busy trying to give you another order. I mean, I will have to decline 3 or 4 standing in the driveway if somebody, trying to drop off. It's crazy.
But there are apps out there, and Gary makes an app that curbs that problem, that you can set your parameters that you don't have to constantly do that stuff either.
But I use my iPhone mostly, so I have to jailbreak my iPhone in order to be able to use that.
And on that example, I've got a subscriber who dashes in my market. He follows my channel. He was out dashing last week. He was at a red stoplight. He got rear-ended by a guy going 40 miles an hour. The guy couldn't speak English, and turns out the guy who rear-ended him was door dashing, looking at his phone. Didn't even see him. Totaled his car out. So now he's in a bad spot by another dasher who was paying attention to his phone, not the road.
Yeah. I can, again, it's one of those things though, where like literally I'm worried for my life when I drive, because not even they don't even have to be dashers or rideshare drivers. Again, there is people out there who literally text and drive. I mean, I'm talking about with their knee driving, one knee and then the other knee on the gas, and they're texting. I have drove by these people and I'm like, what are you doing, dude?
It just comes down to you. It's not you. I mean, you got to worry about the other people, what they might be going through and what they do. I mean, it's a scary world.
A drunk driver today in the Walmart parking lot at 4:00 in the afternoon or 3:30 in the afternoon. The guy had run over a bunch of bushes and then started doing donuts in the Walmart parking lot, and was just like,
whoa!
Some homeless guy said that he went over and talked to him, and that the guy was just reeked of alcohol. So,
wow.
I was talking to my insurance agent, and I was trying to get a little bit of a breakdown on the why gig worker insurance, even though now it doesn't have to be straight commercial, or you don't have to buy the full policy. They've got these policies more for gig workers, even through most of the big companies. And I was asking him, why is it so much more though still? And he started bringing up some really obvious points to me. Like, he's like, 101, the more you're on the road, the more chance of an accident you'll be in. The more hours you spend, the more chance of an accident. He goes, and then he actually happened to have an insight into gig workers, which I was surprised on. He goes, plus a lot of gig workers push their limits all the time and work more than 8 hours, and they know they're not 100%. He said, you should never. First of all, insurance people are like this, but I agree with this. He's like, you should never be driving a car unless you're 100%. He goes, we know that, and they do studies on this, you guys. I mean, this is Allstate. I'll just tell you. They still do. That's a big company. They've done studies on this, and they're saying that, by the 7th hour and stuff, you're losing your attention. You can't focus on all the things that they need you to cover you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you look at how many people are under pressure to meet a time limit, especially DoorDash. DoorDash, Grubhub, I know in particular, they'll give you contract violations if you're not within so much time or whatever. And from what I understood, I heard from one insurance person that this whole prohibition against delivery, at least from insurance companies, goes back to a case with, I think it was Domino's. It was one of the pizza chains that they had a 20-minute guarantee or a 30-minute guarantee. And somebody got killed by a driver trying to meet that guarantee because their job was on the line if they didn't meet that guarantee a certain number of times. So they're hurrying in and out of traffic, and somebody gets killed because of that. And that same situation exists today. It's another safety issue, I think, with these platforms, is when you've got to meet somewhat of a strict timeline or something, that creates a safety issue.
Yeah,
I'm surprised insurance will even cover delivery drivers, period, because one of the major issues is we're looking at our phones. We're distracted. That's against the law, and I don't know how many states it can count, whatever case. Distracted driving is against the law. You can be ticketed for that. You could be ticketed in an accident. You could be ticketed just driving down the street looking at your phone. There's laws against that. So I'm surprised insurance companies, and it'd be interesting to see how, if, let's say you have that policy and you do get in an accident, if they're even going to be willing to do it, because you just got a ticket for distracted driving causing an accident. They can look at that and say, well, you were looking at your phone playing, then we can't cover you in that case because you were breaking the law, which is a law in a lot of states, because you're distracted driving. So I'm surprised they even cover that kind of, they put that in there. I don't know if it's their way of making more money, and at the end of the day, they won't cover you. I've never met anybody that's been in an accident that's been, had to use that insurance or anything like that. But that'd be interesting to know, because they're pretty much giving you insurance to break the law. So you wonder how that would work at the end of the day, because distracted driving is one of the major causes. It's probably one of the highest causes of accidents is distracted driving. And if you're looking at your phone constantly, well, there's a very good gig tuber that we watch every day. He holds his phone in his lap and he's looking at it constantly. So distracted driving is a huge issue, and I just wonder why insurance would even cover you in that case, because you're breaking the law at that point.
Technically, I mean, you're not supposed to be touching the phone.
Yeah. On to the note of breaks, workers like me who've got a full-time job, right? I work 8 to 10 hours a day, but when I get home from work, I have to set aside an hour, hour and a half to just relax, unwind, and take a small break before I go hit the road. Because if I don't, hour, 2 hours in, I'm definitely not fully focused, like you said at the beginning. So it is important to take those breaks.
And that's the same thing that happens here in Vegas. Is like this week, it's going to be 113 degrees. That means I got to be out here delivering pizza in 113 degree weather for well over 6 hours. Would I feel comfortable going out and door dashing immediately after that? No. So your environmental factors takes into a lot of things, not just the time, but environmental factors. You're out in the heat, 8 hours, 113 degree weather. That destroys you. And it's just probably just like driving in Detroit, Michigan, when it's windy and it's cold and you got ice and snow. That wears your eyeballs out even faster. So there's a lot of factors,
It's even worse there because you get the lake. We get black ice in Michigan,
so
you don't even see it. It comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yep.
Terrible.
So it's
Illinois.
So the two things before I guess before we hit on this last thing, I just want to make sure that we at least hit on this. I don't think there's a lot of discussion to be had on these two because we all pretty much will agree on these, I think. Number one, when in doubt, cancel. Just cancel. If it feels, I don't know about you guys, but I have great instincts. I feel like if it feels sketchy, it's sketchy. Don't go for it.
Yep.
I mean, don't.
I've learned over time. If you have that gut feeling, trust that gut feeling.
Always trust. And you know what? And if somebody's like, but if I do that, I'm one away from being. You know what? You could be deactivated tomorrow for doing nothing at all. So that's always a threat. Don't let that be a threat when you're working. That's always that you could be deactivated for absolutely no reason because your last name is the same as another person who did something that needed to be deactivated and accidentally they got you. So, and there's no recourse. The other thing I want to make sure that we all know is dash cams, you guys. I mean, I'm not even going to promote a brand here today, which I would, but I'm going to keep it open. Make sure you have one. And if you have the option or you don't have one or you're looking to upgrade, make sure you get one that cloud uploads because the people have gotten smart to this and they now grab for the dash cam and rip it off. So if all you've got is an SD card, you just lost the data that showed who was in your car.
Gotcha.
I actually have 3 in my car.
Do any upload to the cloud?
No, they're all SD cards, but I also have an app on my phone that is a background app that videotapes as well. So they would have to grab my phone, grab my cameras, which I got 3 of, and they're not going to want to waste that much time to try to if that's the case. If they're just in there for a quick robbery or whatever case, they ain't going to have time to grab 3 or 4 cameras in an amount of time.
No.
So, what is that app? What is that you're talking about?
I would have to check with Steve. He has my phone number. You can text me. I'll text you it because off the top of my head, I don't know it right now.
My guess, Holly, is that the app goes through a specific one of his specific dash cams, though. So you'd have to have the dash cam.
No. Actually, it goes through your cell phone. It works off your cell phone. It'll I could be recording what's behind this, in front of me right now.
Okay.
the whole time we're doing it. It doesn't interfere with your ability to work the apps like DoorDash and that. It can run the whole time and record and do your videos for you.
Oh,
Okay.
Awesome.
Because I know like my GoPro goes to my phone and it uploads the data to my phone if I got the GoPro going.
Yeah.
I use it's by Rexing is what it's called. I think it's a VP2. And the reason I chose this one was that the cameras will pivot or swivel. So when I pull up, I point that camera at the door of the customer because, one, again, it's documentation that says, yes, I did drop it off. I didn't drop it off, take a picture and pick it up again or something like that. So I've got documentation that that's happened, but also because if anything happens while I'm up there, that camera is catching that as well. And so, but it doesn't have the upload to cloud. But the other thing I'd run is a screen recorder app. I use X Recorder, and that records everything that's happening on my phone. So it'll record when I'm taking pictures of the drop off, and it also, and it just records like the conversations and anything like that. So again, it's just another layer of safety or another layer of documentation because in these days you kind of need both.
And it just goes back to, once again, it's your business. Invest in your business. Body cameras. You can get a good body camera, just like the Popos have for like the $150. Is it worth it to me that if I know I'm going to be out here for 365 days a year doing deliveries where I'm interacting with people on a regular basis, why not invest $150 in a camera? That camera could save your life. It could catch the person that robbed you or maybe took your life, so you get closure at the end of the day. So once again, it all boils down to that. What are you willing to invest in your business? So it falls on us. That's not something the apps can do for us. They can't tell you to go out and invest in your business, so it's safer for you to do and more convenient for you to do. So, it's what are you willing to invest in your business? And these are things that people need to take into consideration when they start this. What do I need a dash cam? I'm on the road 18 hours a day. I need a dash cam. That's number one. Do I need a body cam? Would it be beneficial for a body cam? Sure, because there are instances where these apps, bless their soul, will take your footage when you got a lying customer. They will take it. Some won't. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't. So you might be the lucky one to get the one that shows you delivering the food. You know what I'm saying? So it's just what do you want to invest in your business to make you safer? That's what people got to think about.
Also, a very cheap investment, you guys, very cheap. And I don't know how many of you. I'm curious how many have ever done this. I've heard some people talk about it. It's been a while though. But for $3 on Amazon, you can get a sticker that goes on your window that says, "This ride is being recorded for yours and my safety." $3.
Yeah.
That's a big deterrent to any robber to see that.
Exactly. And another thing,
to them, it might be like, I'll just rob the next guy. I'm not going to.
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing is, how many people in here can say right now they have a emergency kit, medical kit in their car? You get involved in an accident, you cut yourself extremely bad. I actually carry two with me in my car. I got one that's for severe trauma and one for minor trauma stuff. So that's another thing, that you're in your car, accidents happen. You got to be able to wait. You can't just wait for the paramedics if you cut a major vein or you got a severe cut over yet. You can't. So that's another thing. Once again, it goes back to you. What are you investing in your business for your safety? And a good medical kit is a plus. And in my opinion, it's a must. You know what I'm saying?
I would even add, I have one in my car. I saw David raise his hand too. I would even add to that, you guys, the bigger the safety kit you can have, and I understand some of us just have a basic one. Anything's great. Any of this is great. But the bigger one you do have, like, you're also able to, in the middle of the night, if it doesn't even involve you, I mean, this is me. I don't know about other people, but if you see an accident, I can pull over and stop and potentially help.
Yep.
Because I have something they might not have in their car.
Yep.
So before we finish up here, I know we're wrapping up on time. I want to go around and ask everybody what what your most important safety issue is, or safety advice, or whatever you want to do to drivers, to pretend like it's a class of new drivers, and we got to get out some message to them.
I got one.
Okay, we'll start with Joe and we'll go around. So,
one of my most important ones is, use your ears and eyes and your voice. I always talking to other drivers when I'm out to see what's happening around town. If a road's closed down because of an accident, or just hearing how their experiences are. Sometimes I even check, hey, where are you going? You know that area you're going to ain't the greatest, right? So it's not only helping yourself, but try to help other people, like pay it forward. And hopefully in the end, that's going to come back to you in some way. So, use your ears. That's my safety tip.
My biggest thing that I could give advice people is just have your mind right. Have your marbles about you at all times. You sit in your house while you're watching TV and think of scenarios that could or might happen, and try to avoid those. And get your situational awareness. To me, it all starts with this. So if you got this 100%, your brain 100% correct, you've went through scenarios in your mind. You've got plenty of sleep that night. You're keeping a lookout for everything. You have you went and constantly bought the equipment you needed to keep yourself safer. As long as you have that mind right, I feel that you would be 100% when you go out and safer when you do these jobs.
Yeah, David.
Yeah, for me, it's just be like when I'm driving in San Francisco or city specifically, just really spend less time looking at the phone and more time looking at the street and around you. I think I'm guilty of this where I'm like, oh, I've taken a look at the cars, a couple seconds ahead so I can go decline some trips or look at some things. People pull out, bike lanes happen. So for me, the biggest one really is just keep your head on a swivel, check all four corners, and try to look at the phone.
And before we move on to Holly, I do have to hit on this because David brought up something. Like up in Truckee, I have a very dear friend that lives up in Truckee. Up in Truckee, California, if your phone is within reaching distance, it's a $500 ticket while you're driving. So you can't even have it mounted on the dash. Like even not working gigs, you can't have a GPS mounted on the dash. If you can grab it, it's a $500 ticket.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
So how do they do their GPS? They have to have the built-in.
I guess they say, you know what, we got by before without GPS, so figure it out, kids.
Well, I guess it talks to you, so I guess you could have it in the back or something.
Or it's real simple. Have a Bluetooth headset and let your GPS talk to you the whole time.
Right, or just exactly. Or just even set where you're going, put the volume on, and just put it on the other air vent by the passenger door so it's out of your reach. Let it be telling you what to turn left at the next,
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's a law to be thought about because this is where things will go if we keep crashing into each other and texting.
You'd think that these apps would come up with a Siri or Google Voice or Google Command integration where you could just tell it to accept, voice commands or something. But
yes,
well,
that's a good idea.
Hear it.
Holly, what would you do?
I would say just to, like they've all said, be very aware of your surroundings. I do deliver at night. I'm out till 3 a.m. almost every single night. So you have to be hyper aware, and just make sure you know who's walking around you. Don't be concentrated too much on your phone, and make sure you have that equipment in your car, like your flashlight. Because I can tell you, I use my flashlight all the time, and I have one that I hook actually to my shirt, so it provides me some light without having to hold the flashlight. So there's always a solution, but you have to think ahead. You can't just go out there and be like, okay, well, I'm just going to go deliver and not even think about what can happen to you. You have to think.
Absolutely. Ron, what do you got?
my biggest advice is probably just remember who you're dealing with, especially when you're talking about these apps, when you're talking about DoorDash or Uber or Lyft or Grubhub, and it's that they're your customer and not your boss. And I mean, if you think about it, it's not my job when I walk into a restaurant to ensure the safety of the restaurant owner, right? And it's the same way that it's not DoorDash's job. As much as they rely on people, they should be doing some things, but ultimately it's your job. And that's why I really appreciate a lot of the stuff that Roy's been saying all along. It's your job because it's your business. And so you're running a business, they're your customers. it's up to you to take care of yourself. It's up to you to take care of your business. And when you think of it in that terms, I think it changes everything, because now you're not relying on people that don't have your back anyway. You're relying on yourself.
Yeah, good point.
And so I'll finish that one. I'll kind of finish off with saying building on Ron there. So, like, again, if this was a class of first day drivers about to go out and we're giving you this advice, I would add to that, you guys, everything we said, I stand by everything that everybody on this panel said. However, you don't need to go buy all of it today. Go start with a dash cam, work in the day, work a couple hours, nothing more, get your feet wet, do it, learn it a little bit before you're like pushing your limits in your market or going, I'm doing really good, I'm going to work 10 hours, I'm going to work 20, I'm going to just work round the clock, I'm going to sign up for all the apps. Don't get ahead of yourself, slow it down, treat it like a business that it is, because if you're going to be counting on the earnings from this business, then treat it like the business that it is. And yes, protect yourself, be aware, and if you can't afford even the steps you would like to do, at least put them on your want list, and at least be extra aware in those areas until you get them. But whatever makes you feel safe is going to make your passengers or the experience for everybody feel safer. Because if you don't feel safe, it's going to show. And I say that because that includes to people that might be looking to do you harm. They're looking for people who are weak-minded or don't look like they'll deal with things well. Like I said this to Roy once when I had him on. I was like, I have a way of like, I'm very careful about who gets in my car, A, but B, if I'm just a little sketched out, I put my eyes right on them and stare at them until they give me eye contact. I don't even move. I want them to know, no, I'm not looking down. I'm looking right at you. It's how you carry yourself.
And I just want to add one real quick thing for anybody that's listening to this or watching this later. Don't be afraid to reach out. We make these channels to help you guys. We make these channels to help make your life easier. Don't be afraid to reach out. A lot of people on here, or I know Steve does, he has my number. I can show you how to build a medical kit that's less expensive. We all have cameras that we can recommend that's least expensive, so you're not having to think I got to spend $800. No, there's things that we can help you with. Like I can help you build a medical kit for under $50. That's going to, like mine's $50. I can stop gunshot wounds with mine because I have that knowledge and experience with those kind of situations that I can do that. So yeah, don't be afraid to reach out to us. Don't be afraid to ask, hey, did you have Roy's number? I'm a driver. I heard what he had to say, and I like what he said, and I would maybe like him to help me build a medical kit. At least I have something, least expensive or whatever case may be. So remember, guys, if you're watching this, you have people that make these channels to help you to become a better driver. Use these resources. Use your resources you have right in front of you. And, so I'll leave it at that.
So I want to put up the driverrights.org again. And I want to say, first of all, I want to say thank you to everybody for joining us today. Ron Walters, you can find at entrecourier.com. Ron is a great guy, writes great articles. Holly, I'm going to let Holly, what's your channel? Because Holly's channel's been blowing up or something.
Savvy Shopper Delivers, AKA Holly Camp.
And all of these will be in the show notes, you guys. Obviously, David's is Para. You can find him and linked into any one of my videos. Roy, where can people find you?
My channel is Real Talk with Roy, and you can email me if you want at jixercurb@gmail.com.
Yeah. Or if you type in Roy Will Be Roy, he comes up on YouTube real quick too. So, Joe, what about you?
My channel is Let's Play DoorDash. Having a lot of fun with ride-alongs, doing my tips. Been a Top Dasher before the Top Dasher craze hit, so I've been doing that a little while.
Good. So, Ron, did you hear I plugged you?
I did.
Yeah, I didn't know if you were video off, what was going on, but so you guys, like Roy said, all these people, you got David and I, and then you got 4 other people here who all can help you. They all have experience in this stuff. And it's not like calling the company who A, can't help you, B, won't help you, and C, doesn't really care to help you anyway. Exactly. They don't want to.
100.
I mean, like, these are people who actually are the opposite of all that. They want to help you, they will help you, and we can help you. So, you know, subscribe to their channels, you guys. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. If you're watching this on other formats and you're ever on YouTube, come over and subscribe to all these channels. They will be in the show notes, like I said, so you can find them in there.
Thanks.
And I want to thank everybody for joining us. And David, I want to thank you. And David, I guess next week we will have pro declined will be the topic. And that is for DoorDashers, basically for DoorDashers who are really good at their job, but have under an 8% acceptance rate and still crush it. What we call top dashers. So,
Right.
Anyway, thank you guys very much. And we will see you back here next week. Have a good week.
Thank you. Thank you.
See ya.